Welcome to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath, dietary needs expert, certified meetings manager, certified food protection manager. I have searched the globe to find people and businesses who are creating safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experiences for their employees, guests, and communities. In each episode, you will find authentic conversations about how food and beverage impacts inclusion, sustainability, culture, community, health, and wellness. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to cover it all. Are you ready to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line? If so, let's go. Hi, welcome to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath, founder of Thrive Meetings and Events and this podcast. On this podcast, on Eating at a Meeting, we talk about all things food and beverage with experts in food and beverage. We've got doctors and lawyers and farmers and eaters and chefs. Anybody who's got anything to do with food and beverage, we chat with them to learn about how to create safe, inclusive, and sustainable food and beverage experiences. Today's guest is my friend, Deborah Gardner. She is a swimming champion, an author, and a competitive performance expert who helps hundreds of companies and organizations advance to new levels of success. Her newly popular live broadcast, Hospitality Today Live, interviews other experts in hospitality to talk about what's going on in the industry. And I love it. One thing that I learned about her today that we share a kindred bond is that we're both Marine brats, grew up traveling the world with our dads who are Marines. And so that's a very good kindred spirit that we have. But I want to talk to Deborah about her diet and her lifestyle that she has chosen that I think is actually helping her and her clients with that success that she has. So welcome to the show, Deborah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm so excited to chat with you. And, last week when we were chatting, I said something about now I'm a swimmer and you're a competitive swimmer. And I love that. And I love swimming laps. It's such a good form of exercise. But when we were chatting last week, I found out that you were vegan or that you eat a plant-based diet. And I want to learn more about that and how that has helped your success.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I am so thrilled to be here to share that information because I am the type that has to live the experience in order to share my results. And this is one area of my life that truly, truly made a difference in my life. And it actually all started out with my husband. My husband had some illnesses and some health issues that, for a young 50-year-old was questioning, after being healthy all his life. And after getting a colonoscopy and going through the doctors and everything, the doctor looked at him and said, hey, we're going to have to put you on some kind of medication. And I can't remember what medication it was. And he looked at the doctor and he said, okay, what's my other option? And the doctor looked at him and said, eating healthy. And he said, okay, why don't I do that first before getting on medication? Because I think the problem with most people is they rush to medication thinking that's going to be the quick fix. When all it took was he goes, oh, okay, all I have to do is eat healthy. I can do that. And that's exactly what he did. He came home that day and he said, Deborah, we are going to do this together. And I'm like, you mean I got to give up my ice cream, my hamburgers, and my wine and all that stuff? Well, and it turned out he's the cook in the family. He's half Korean, half Italian. So he's got both sides of the cooking area. I always say he should start a cooking show called the Goulash Chef. Hopefully someday he does that. But since he's the cook in the family, all I have to do is show up and eat. And what he did was transform the way we ate. He filled the refrigerator up with vegetables, got rid of all the meat, got rid of all the dairy. And the vegetables, of course, you have to, shop more often.
Right.
But the way he transformed the dishes, when he would cook and when he would put the display out onto the table, the food looked so good that I did not want to eat.
Wow.
he had it beautiful. I think he's watched a lot of those shows, of the display of food. And it's true. When you go to like, especially a fancy restaurant, you look at the way they have it prepared and how it's displayed. It's so beautiful. You don't want to eat it. And I can tell you, Tracy, because of that, 3 months later, I lost 27 pounds.
Wow.
And kept it off ever since, just because I had stayed vegan.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. And because of it, we've been, it's like a partnership doing it with him. It's easier when somebody else is doing it with you.
Of course.
And thank goodness, because my sister has tried this, and yet her husband he loves his, Mexican food, and he just loves to eat a lot. It's really hard for her. The key, I think, is to really have somebody else to help you through it. And my husband helped me through it. And ever since, I haven't looked back. I thought I always had to have a piece of chicken or a slice of chicken a day or every meal almost. It's not true. It is just not true at all. You don't need it. Your body doesn't need it. And how I know that is because my biggest concern was what happens if I get back into the water and, do an actual, swim meet and, trying to keep my energy level up and my time is down in swimming. Well, it turned out I even swam faster.
Really?
I had more energy. My weight was off. And on top of it, my mentality, my attitude was so much more positive. Those three things kicked in, and I have been swimming faster than ever before. As a matter of fact, I have to share this, the 50-meter freestyle, I have gone faster. Oh gosh, this was like 3 years ago when I first started. I beat my time than what I had in college at Arizona State University.
What?
So how is that possible? How is that possible? I just like, seriously? And when this happened, I thought, I am not quitting. I am not quitting. And ever since then, I have felt so good and have had more energy than ever before. So it's been easy, even during the holidays. People are like, wow, Thanksgiving, Deborah, aren't you going to have a piece of turkey? No, I have no qualms about it. I have no taste buds for it. My whole tasting ability has changed just because of that experience.
Wow. And so it's been 3 years?
Been 3 years. Been 3 years. And I love the fact that as you intake the nutritions, that come with being a vegan, the iron, the zinc, the calcium that you get more of by being vegan, our bodies get better at absorbing our intestines and everything. And I'm learning all of this, and yet I'm also feeling it as well. And the surprising part is not only what goes on in your body, but what comes out of your body. I mean, literally, when I poop, it's cow poops. It's literally cow poops. And that's how you know that your intestines are in your body, your inside your body is cleaned out. It's, literally, I would turn around and look at the toilet and going, cow poops. And that's how you know your insides of your bodies are clean instead of just that mushy poop that comes out. You got to have cow poops.
Oh, and it's funny because people who have dietary restrictions or medical needs, we don't have a problem talking about poop, right? It is a natural thing, but because everybody does poop. There is a book called that.
I love it because that's what convinced me that I was doing something right. Right at the beginning, before I lost the 27 pounds, I was like, this is like a display. I mean, it's just an event of like, I cannot believe this is happening to my body. And I tell you that I just never looked back. And then when I lost that weight so fast and have kept it off for 3 years, it's like, seriously, what other diet do you want to be on? The cow poop diet.
Yeah, I wonder how that Dr. Oz will go with that one. So 3 years, and before the pandemic, so that means you were traveling pretty heavy for 2 years while you were on the vegan diet, how did you do that? Going to all of the different conferences and presentations that you give and events that you attended?
That's a good question because I was concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, once I start traveling and once you start wining and dining with clients, what does that look like? But we are in the planning industry. So what I did was I actually planned what I was going to eat depending on where I was going to go. Like when I'm on a plane, I had little Ziploc bags of
Mm-hmm.
carrots or nuts that I thought I would eat instead of ordering what was going to, come down the aisle type of thing.
Right.
And that crushed it right there. That was easy to pack. I always had that extra stuff in there. But because I would snack, at first I was snacking thinking I needed all of this,
Right.
but really I didn't. But then when you get to restaurants or you get, the meals from the convention or meeting, actually, I didn't eat a lot of it. I would make sure I would have my snacks from my Ziploc bag, munchies. I'd have that first, and that would kind of fill me up. I was never the type that would eat before getting on stage for a speech anyway, for a presentation anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Always put that aside. But I always have to be very careful and look at and really focus instead of just grabbing what's in front of me and eating it. The biggest challenge I have at conventions is when they put the dessert out first. That's still my weakness. I always want to eat the dessert first before the meal comes. So that's always been a challenge of mine. So I try to alleviate that by networking. I get up from the table and I kind of just go and talk to people just to get my mind off of food. And I also think, it's okay to cheat once in a while, but it doesn't happen very often. I just don't have the cravings like I used to at all.
It definitely changes because when you stop eating something for a while, and even here, I stopped drinking 2.5 years ago, and my sister-in-law was here this weekend, and she had a beer, and I just sniffed it, and I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah. So I used to be a wine drinker, and it just doesn't thrill me, and the taste buds have changed. And people have to be patient with that. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Obviously, I needed to lose the weight because, to drop that fast, you definitely know you got to lose it. But it does take time and it takes practice.
Yeah.
Practice.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't let people around you to influence you, to have a piece of pizza or whatever. Well, we do have pizza. We know what to put on it. But you can't say no to what people say. You don't even have to tell people. We didn't tell people at first.
Oh, really?
We were going vegan. No, because back then it was like, oh, what are you talking about? Why would you want to do that? Come on, you can have some meat, you can have a burger, We didn't want to be influenced. We didn't want to, talk about it. It was something that we just said, okay, this is something we're going to commit to doing together. And we're going to, cheer for each other on this. But it turned out to be a lot easier than we thought. It really did.
And what happened with you? What did your doctor say, or your husband's doctor say? And how long did it take him to see results?
Yeah, well, guys like to eat a lot more. So It was it's harder, I think, on men than it is women because women are more pickier eaters, but men like to eat. So it took him about 6 months to really get it to work for him. But he never went back to the doctor. Never went back. He's like, he does his annual.
Right.
But he never needed to go on medication at all.
Wow.
So he's since then we've had to stick with it. And it's interesting too, because our grocery bill has actually gone down because we shop at farmers markets for all the vegetables that we need. But when you take meat out of the category of your daily grocery shopping or your weekly grocery shopping, it is amazing how your grocery bills can be cut in half.
Wow. And, a lot of people think that, fruits and vegetables actually cost a lot more, but you also have to learn how to use them. And if you're using beans and getting your proteins from those different sources, then it's not just the cost of fruits and vegetables, you've added the cost of your legumes versus a filet mignon is drastically different.
Yeah, totally. And just knowing that the saturated animal fat that's in meat and the cholesterol, and most people have cholesterol problems.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have to talk about it anymore. I mean, literally, I feel like sometimes I should do a commercial for veganism, because literally it's the one thing that I can contest to in my life that happened and has been stable since then, as long as you continue to do it. So,
Right.
and I find that my skin is not as dry and is not as wrinkly as fast as as I'm aging. But and especially when I'm in chlorinated water all the time, every day practically, you would think my skin would be dry and all that. But it has changed. It's changed my skin. It's changed my mentality. And it's kind of fun, Tracy. Have you ever sat back and watched other people eat? I mean, seriously, and what they eat, and I'm sitting there going, dude, you don't need that. I want to say something so bad, but it's something you have to learn on your own. It's something you have to come to terms with, because the decision we made to have this happen had to do with my husband's health. And it's unfortunate, you don't want to get to that point, because he's mad at himself about it. How did I get to this point? My high cholesterol and my health being like this. You don't have to get to that point if you start now and just eating as healthy as possible.
Yeah, this on the CDC's website. Ooh, I'm echoing back. That's weird. I'm going to see if I sit away from my microphone a little bit. It says that 6 or 7 out of 10 deaths are caused from chronic diseases in the United States and actually worldwide as well. So the CDC says that diet, exercise, smoking, and drinking alcohol all are contributors to, chronic diseases. And the chronic diseases are strokes and heart attacks and cancer and things like that. And if we can change those things in our lifestyles, then we can actually reduce the risk of getting these chronic diseases. And more than 33% of adults have 2 or more chronic diseases, which is mind-boggling. I think that I'll have to look up that statistic, right? But it's a big number of people that do have more than one, and that's very scary to think that that's happening to us. But again, it can be changed by diet and exercise, and you're living proof of that, So
yeah. And also studying it. Once we got going on this, we started reading about these, and then all of a sudden the shows started showing up on Netflix. Like What the Health is one. There's all kinds of different eating type of habit shows on Netflix. And once you start educating yourself, and they show you exactly what happens to your body when you have, a hamburger or a filet mignon or whatever, it's disgusting. It really is disgusting what happens. And once you see that, what they're showing you, it's incredible. I mean, there's some Netflix shows of this one guy, I can't remember the name of it, but he would travel the country to research about, veganism. And the studies that he came up with were just amazing. I have to, watch it 2 or 3 times just to grasp all this information. And it's unfortunate that our society has pushed fast food places. And it's amazing that it has survived during the pandemic, but I understand that. It's comfort food. It's easy food. But if people during the pandemic could only just slow down and say, hey, you are stuck in your house, you got to eat right, put what's right in your refrigerator, then you won't be feeling depression, anxiety, or stress, those areas. And I tell you, that's one of the reasons why I've been able to pull through this pandemic is because of my eating habits.
Well, and that's good. And unfortunately, for some people who don't have the income to buy all that fresh vegetables and when I was in Atlanta and working for Cook's Warehouse, we partnered with the DeKalb County school system, and we were teaching the cafeteria workers how to make some fresh vegetables, fresh foods for the students instead. But a lot of them just don't have the equipment to do it. They don't have the time or the know-how to actually know what to do with, tomatoes or whatever outside of putting them on a hamburger. And they don't know that ketchup comes from, tomatoes ketchup is made from tomatoes. So it's also a learning curve that we actually have to teach a lot of people, and also the time and the prep that it does take to make some of the foods that, it does take a lot more thought process to think about cooking beans versus cooking a steak or chicken and things like that. And going to those fast food places, they don't offer them. I mean, they're starting to offer them, but it depends, how strict do you want to be? Because the one gentleman in Florida who was suing Burger King because he wanted the vegan burger and he realized they grilled it on the same grill as the regular hamburgers. And he's like, that's not vegan. Right. And so it does take a lot more forethought, I think, in planning and being vegan and vegetarian, because I think it's because we have to take so much out of what we're so used to eating.
Yeah.
Because cheese is on everything. Cheese or dairy is on everything. It's included in so many things and you don't think about it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think, again, one of the reasons why we didn't tell people about it, because we went over to our friend's house one day, and when we told them about it, she made this quiche in a pan. And she said, this side is vegan and this side is not. And I'm sitting there thinking, but it's in the same pan. They don't get that. It's like, okay, that's not how you prepare.
No. Okay. And how do you make a quiche two-sided?
I don't know, but my husband and I just laughed over that. We're like, okay, but we were being gracious to eat our side, but but it was funny
in it. Yeah.
But it's I think being vegan or eating healthy should be acceptable just as much as it is wearing a mask right now. Right. I remember this time of year, I was at the NSA Ohio chapter just this past Saturday, and I was on the flight with a mask. One other lady. Wow. Yeah, we kind of got it, and as a futuristic, I should stay on top of it, but I didn't know it would be this big. But I remember this one lady and myself, we had a mask on the flight, and people were looking at us like, okay, this is so strange. Well, now, today, it's like, if you don't see somebody with a mask on, this looks very strange. Right. Well, it's the same as far, as eating healthy. People look at you like, oh gosh, they're vegan. It's like, wait a minute, we need to flip that and say, hey, vegan is cool, and being healthy is cool. And going to fast food, not so cool, and it just hasn't gotten there yet. No. And I don't know why.
Well, it's definitely a change in mindset, and plant forward, veg forward, we have to think about that, putting more vegetables on our plate and then making the meat the accompaniment. And I think there's a lot of people that are coming. The pandemic has helped a lot of people start to eat healthier and more nutritiously, and thinking about how the food that they're eating is actually more nutrient dense. So I want to know, just a quick question. So tell me what your normal breakfast is and your normal lunches, or give me a couple of ideas of what you eat.
Oh gosh. I always take pictures of what my husband's meal plates look like, because they're just so gourmet looking. But a typical, there's not really a typical, and that's a good thing. There's a lot of variety. A lot of people don't believe that, but there is a lot of variety you can go and do. I mean, it could be oatmeal one day, with a piece of fruit. Sometimes I try to work through and not even have breakfast. Sometimes it just depends. Lunch, definitely. I love my salads, but sometimes I'll save the salads for the evening. Instead, because I'm still burning, calories during the day. But I love bean salads. Oh gosh, there's so many great recipes with vegetables and bean salad. But pizza is always, a good one for us, because, we make sure the dough is vegan dough. You just keep all that out of it. and just top it off with all kinds of vegetables. There's nothing wrong with that too. And I still have my glass of wine once in a while. Not very often, but when I do, it's like just one glass. That's enough. But that's about typical right there. I don't do desserts anymore, and I'm all about ice cream and cake and cookies during the holidays. It just doesn't thrill me anymore.
It's loaded with sugar. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's the sugar. Yeah. And I just love sugar. I love, like, Valentine's Day's coming up. I see all the candy in the store and I walk right by it. And it's like, Deborah, what's wrong with you? You always loved sugar, But yet, no, it's not anymore. It's really easy.
Oh, that's good. Do you guys venture into using seitan and quinoa? Do you use a lot of that, or are you just really kind of doing it very simplistically, plant-based?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because my husband has been researching that to try to venture out. So I kind of let him guide me because I'm very satisfied. As long as you're satisfied, not full, not stuffed. I don't say those words anymore. I am completely content with the food department. I am, and which is great because now I can focus on other things, like my work or family or whatever. I don't really worry about food. My 85-year-old dad, he just can't wait for his next meal, and he has pasta at every meal, and he's going to live probably forever. But it's like, I just don't talk about it anymore. So, but yes, I've heard my husband talk about that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's ready to mix it up.
There's so many things that you can do. And even like with aquafaba, and I don't know if he's even talked to you about aquafaba, but the liquid from the chickpea can, if you save that and you can actually mix it or whip it, and it's meringue. And it can be used as an egg replacer in certain dishes and things like that. But meringue is sugar and that. But so it's a delicious little dessert that's vegan. And the Fran Costigan, she's a vegan pastry chef. And so she was on the show a couple of weeks ago. So if he wants to venture into the desserts, she has got it down pat.
Well, it's so great to have the internet now too, because they have all kinds of vegan recipes. And just to try a couple of them, it's amazing going through the grocery store. It doesn't take much.
No.
It doesn't take much to put one, a meal together at all. And if anybody wants to surprise their family with something new and different instead of the usual, hamburgers and fries or whatever, try it. And I think the sooner the better if you have kids.
Right.
To introduce them to the healthy meals, the better. And yes, is it easy just to take them down to a fast food place? Absolutely. But the sad thing is you get caught up in it too, because you just can't resist the smell. And therefore, you're going to, people are going to gain weight from it. Again, you're going to be feeling stressed, anxiety. You're better off just, especially during the pandemic, just try something new and different.
Exactly. And get everybody in the kitchen. And with so many virtual cooking programs on there now, it'd be fun to get kids into the kitchen, watching those and having them help cook with you. So
right. And one thing I'm really surprised about through this pandemic is there's really not much information out there about the immune system and why the education of our immune system is not top of mind,
right.
During this COVID time, because that's the issue. And that's what my husband and I say, as long as we're healthy, we're eating healthy, we probably don't even have to take the vaccine. So we're not really concerned about it because we know for a fact that being vegan really does help.
Well, that's good. I'm so glad that you've had such good success. And Jim Spellows was on the show a couple of weeks ago with the same thing. He had a stroke and had heart surgery, and going whole food, plant-based completely changed his life. And his doctor's like, you don't really need to come see me except for your annual every year. So, and I know other people who've had bags full of medicine and went vegan and got rid of the entire bag full of medicine. So it does.
If anyone wants to hear those stories, all they have to do is go to Netflix and
just
watch those stories. You're right. I mean, they would have counters full of medication.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, gone.
Right. Just by changing your diet.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's not hard. People just think it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I swim a mile about 3 times a week now because my shoulder's been bothering me. But how much do you swim a day?
I swim right during this pandemic because our USMS Masters team had to kind of just close the pool for now. So I swim about 4 times a week. And usually I swim meters, but right now I'm in the yard pool. So I swim about 3,400 yards. I don't know how you calculate that in miles or laps, but it takes me a good hour.
Is your pool 25 yards?
Can I what?
Is the pool 25 yards?
Where I'm working out right now is
Yes, that's what I swim at. Yes.
Because it's open, yeah. But usually it's a 50-meter is what I prefer, which is what they do in the Olympics.
Right.
Which I had that opportunity in 1980, but unfortunately it was boycotted. So joining the Masters team has been really fun because a lot of ex-Olympians are there, even young people. I mean, there's 90-year-olds that are swimming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's my life. And it makes me feel really good. Talking about feeling light and good and flexible. Try swimming. It's great for your entire body. And gosh, it's something that's just always been part of my life. I love it. And I'm glad to hear you doing it.
Yeah, I do love it. And when I don't swim, like I said, my shoulder's been bothering me, but I'm going to get back in tomorrow and do some laps. But I feel so much better after I've done my mile swim. And when I tore my rotator cuff, it's 2 years ago in April, 2 weeks after my surgery, the doctor's like, okay, you can get into the pool. And the physical therapist is like, just go do the exercise I give you, but underwater. And I did all my exercises with my shoulders submerged and I mean, not big movements or whatever, but I went back for my 3 month and he is like, you're doubled the time, your rate of recovery than normal people. Or, people who don't get into the pool. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing my exercises in the pool. And I was doing it a couple of times a week and not swimming laps, of course. But yeah, I really do love it. And
it's true. And I'm finding that a lot of NFL football players are doing it now just for flexibility. Baseball players, people are starting to discover it like as if it was ballet that they did years ago. But you also have to mix it up with land exercises. You can't just swim. You have to do some muscle, weights to counteract what you're doing in the pool. But you will become stronger. And as we get older, it's really important to be strong because we'll fall more easily. We'll bump into things more easily. So the more you will have your muscles, the strength of your muscles, the better off you're going to be. But tying that into eating healthy is just as good. So I'm doing it.
I did do, I work out at the YMCA, and they do have high intensity HIIT classes in the water. Right. And I am the youngest person by 20 years in the pool. But it is, I mean, and I want to do the deep water one. I've been doing the low and the shallow end one, but it's a lot harder than you think when you're trying to maneuver on a noodle and do these exercises and all that. But I really do like it because it's kind of like that land exercise, but not swimming the laps. Your arms aren't doing that same rotation all the time. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to try to do it.
Swimming, it's all about resistance.
Yes.
And we're going through a resistance, process, and it's just going to build your strength, more and more if you know that that's what water does. It's all about resistance. So
exactly.
It's key. Yeah. So combining exercise and eating healthy, you're going to live a long life.
Well, you look very good. You're the epitome of that. So thanks for sharing.
You as well. You as well.
Thanks.
Try to keep up with you, Tracy.
Right back at you. Okay, so the last question I like to ask all of my guests is, what is your favorite food and beverage?
My favorite food, well, I know I've mentioned it several times on the show because it is. I love pizza. I'm just a pizza fanatic. I know I can't have, I don't have it very often, and the reason why I don't have it very often is when I do, I'm so grateful to have it. But pizza is my favorite. Beverage-wise, I'm a tea drinker.
Okay.
And I'm a green tea drinker, especially in the summertime. Living here in Arizona, I actually make sun tea every day. And it always reminds me of my very first speech that I did back in college at Arizona State University in the public speaking class. I actually had to teach how to make sun tea. So I think I've always loved sun tea. It's just natural. It's with the green tea bags, the Arizona sun. I'm just a tea fanatic. I love it.
That's awesome.
It doesn't go well with pizza, but those are my two favorite food and drink.
Well, I will get my mom to try to do that in the summertime here in North Carolina. She might. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Back porch gets a lot of sun. So yeah,
absolutely.
That'd be great.
It's awesome. It's the best for you. It cleans you out. That's for sure.
All right. Well, good. Well, Deborah, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. And everybody, eat healthy, exercise. This is the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where we talk about all things food and beverage with eaters and chefs and doctors and farmers. And you can catch us on all podcast platforms, and check out the Eating at a Meeting Facebook group. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.